This is MrsAgroSquerril. Agro is recovering, but it could be a while before he is 100%. I hope you enjoy. As Simple as a Game of Chess by Captain Candy. Interview of Senator Lau on the Human-Keen War. So, Senator Lau, you said that you spoke with one of the human leaders during the recent and tragic war between themselves and the Keen. That's right, Mr. Jewell. I was indeed given the honor of meeting with the head of the human military at the time. The experience was enlightening in a myriad of ways, the least of which is the complete alteration of my understanding of war and battle tactics. Could you elaborate for the viewers watching, without of course giving away any military or government secrets? We won't press if you cannot give us the information. Yes, I can in fact elaborate. I'll explain what the human did to me. I won't name ship classes or specific doctrines, but the overarching theme remains the same. Everyone watching should be familiar with the term, war is their game, and they play to win. That term is directed at the humans and has seen a resurgence of use after the recent war. In my interview with the human military leader, this term was made all too real. The meeting started rather informally, with a few jokes and jabs, and the meeting quickly moved into a game of recreation that was placed on the table between us some time before I'd arrived. It was a game of pieces on a grid, where the objective was to use a variety of pieces with unique movement patterns to capture the enemy king piece while not losing your own. A few of the viewers may know this game of chess. I did bring a board and pieces with me to demonstrate, in fact. An assistant comes from off-camera and hands a small wooden board to Senator Lau, who thanks them and carefully sets an array of black and white pieces on the board. When he is finished, he looks back up at the interviewer and camera and continues. This is a chessboard and the pieces. There are at least 2 of all pieces except the king and queen pieces. Each piece moves in its own unique way. The pawns can move forwards 2 spaces upon initial deployment, and only 1 across the board from that point onwards. They can only capture enemy pieces diagonally ahead of them on the square grid. As he explains the movements of each piece and their functions, he explains the military possibilities of each. How the knight's movements can be seen as flanking or ambushes. How the bishop can be seen as archers for long-range attacks. The rooks as siege units for direct assault, and so on. Once his explanation is done, he does something that catches the audience and the interviewer off guard. He taps his wrist comm a few times, and a hologram of the galaxy overlays on top of the chessboard. He adjusted some settings, and the positions of the pieces are now in the distinct locations of the human space and the keen space, then continued. This is how the humans won this war. The human leader likened all war to a game of chess with many different levels. He told me that each individual battle is its own smaller game of chess, while the overall war can be seen as another higher layer of chess. The entire galaxy is the board, and the ships and forces on each side are the pieces. Whole armadas are assigned pieces like pawns or knights. Then, each ship in that armada is given its own role in an individual battle inside of a system. The king and queen pieces are given to the homeworlds and their capital fleets respectively. Other units are assigned by unknown means to me, of course. The humans wouldn't just tell me everything. Now, if I orient the view to see the entire galaxy out to the point where you can see both human and keen space as a whole, you have your board to play on. Now, look here at the hologram and tell me, what are the most valuable positions on this board in your eyes? Where would you place units? The interviewer looked at the board carefully and pointed out a few different locations that most would think were strategically valuable or the best places to set up certain actions. Senator Lau nodded along as she went, and when she was done, he smiled kindly but shook his head. That's almost exactly what I thought too. So that's exactly how I played against the human leader in our game. The end result was my own miserable loss at the overwhelming victory of my human counterpart. You see, the best places in this galaxy to place pieces like pawns are in the ones that represent empty space as a whole. The knights should be placed at strategic points like trade hubs or shipyards. The bishop should wait outside of critical points, outside of systems, or on the spaces diagonally away from the knights, to charge in while the knights have distracted the enemy. Those empty spaces where the pawns are, though, are key. You see, in chess, the pawn, once it reaches the heart of enemy territory, can be promoted to any other unit. This reflects the versatility of the human soldier's training very well. Any unit of the general class of ships in their military can function, although to a lesser degree, as any of the more specialized units. The pawns in this case wait in these dark zones in space for two reasons. One is to wait until the more specialized and advanced units infiltrate enemy space. If those specialized units are lost, the pawns can take up the position until a new specialized unit can be fielded. The second reason is more interesting and a bit scary though. You see, humans send pawns into empty space to monitor it and stop FTL jumps that don't use tunneling. As you know, going FTL is dangerous for a few reasons, the least of which is objects between you and the location being stationary, or maker forbid, moving opposite your direction. So we developed a way to detect objects posing a significant threat while moving at these speeds and activating a shield to stop the debris. The humans take advantage of this, and if they detect any incoming FTL waves in space, they have the pawns empty their trash bins into the path of the objects alongside some mines and explosives that our shields absolutely cannot handle at those velocities. The end result is a low production cost ship being able to take down a dreadnought by itself. When everyone looks at the galaxy, they see the safe spaces, the stars with worlds around them, that can have resources extracted from them. The humans looked at the spaces between where rogue planets can wander and thought of ways to stabilize these planets in positions that can stop normal FTL routes. The nights in these spaces are even scarier though, as the humans took advantage of everyone's obsession with in-system defense and scanners and their neglect of external sensors. The humans would just wait outside of a system, or between an unowned system and a keen system, and after a military presence jumped into the system and then jumped out, the humans would strike. Once the enemy military jumps away from a system, there's no way to go back but to go to the nearest system they are pointed at and turn around. By the time the fleet gets back to response, the human fleet has already hit key infrastructure and fled back to the void between systems. Now then, I said each layer of battle was its own game of chess, did I not? Here is a grand example of this, the well-known battle for Keen Beta. In this battle, I have already labeled each ship with its piece name, but hidden the ship class and image for the sake of not breaching human security standards. Please do not, and I repeat, do not look up the actual ships used in this battle, and their positions as compared to this. Now, as we see, the various ships and their assigned pieces move exactly like one would expect on a normal chessboard. The pawns move out and draw fire, while the specialized units and long-range ships focus on the enemy's specialized ships. Once the enemy special units are taken care of, the human ship then focus their efforts on the enemy pawns, before finally giving the enemy king the offer to surrender, putting them into checkmate, as it were. This is how the humans completely overturned my understanding of war, and how they made war into their game. The holograms all vanish, and the maps are gone, only leaving a single chessboard with its pieces neatly arranged on the table. So now, what do you see when you look at the simple wooden board? Because to humans, even war is as simple as a game of chess. End of story.
I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Caspar Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.